Hi there, and welcome to our presentation, 10 Steps to Improve Health and Live Better. I'm Dr. Larry Mroz with the Men's Health Initiative, and today I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that men can do to improve their health, and then I'll talk a little bit about some of the foods and nutrients that are important for men with prostate cancer to consider. As I said, we're going to talk about some of the things that men can do to improve their health and well-being. Some of these things are things that you've probably already heard about before, but they're worth mentioning again because there are some very simple things that we need to be reminded of that can help us improve our health. And one of the first things that I'd like to talk about is losing weight. If you're overweight, then one of the most important things that you can do to improve your health is to lose a few pounds, and to lose especially a bit of your belly fat. Men tend to accumulate weight around our middles as we get older, and that's probably associated with some of the ill health that men experience as we get older. So getting rid of a little bit of your belly fat can reduce your risk of heart disease, reduce your risk of diabetes, and can even reduce your risk of prostate cancer to a certain extent. 5% loss in body weight, if you're overweight, is enough to significantly reduce your risk of prostate cancer. So what we're aiming for in terms of weight loss here is to have a waist of no more than 40 inches in diameter, or roughly 102 centimeters. Not all of us can be like this gentleman here, but that's not necessarily our goal. It's just to be as healthy as we can be, and to lose a little bit of weight if we do have that extra weight. I like this cartoon. My diet is drawn from the three major food groups: sugar, salt, and grease. So as you can probably tell from that cartoon, the next topic is about how you go about losing that belly fat. And one of the mantras of healthy eating is something you've probably heard before as well. That is to eat more vegetables and fruits and reduce your salt and sugar intake. That's one of the dietary things that you can do that would probably be the most significant dietary change for most of us. Because we do tend to eat too much salt and sugar and meat and not enough fruit and vegetables. So what are we looking for here? We're looking for 8 to 10 servings according to Canada's Food Guide, which if you're over 50 is reduced down to about 7 servings. And we tend to eat too much fast food, restaurant food, processed food, not enough fruits and vegetables. So what can we do? We can start cooking more foods of our own, cooking real food, eating more fruits and vegetables. But one of the things that people often get confused about is, what is a serving? And it's not quite as much as you think. So some people think 8 to 10 servings, I'd be eating fruit and vegetables all day. Well, in fact, a serving is a lot less than you would probably think. A serving can be a kiwi fruit, as in this photo, or a small carrot, or a small apple. For vegetables, it can be a couple of florets of broccoli. So it's not as difficult to get as many servings as fruits and vegetables as you might imagine. If you're concerned about or worried about what a serving is, you might want to take a different approach. The Harvard School of Public Health has come up with this healthy eating plate that I'd like to take a look at for a moment here. One of the first things you'll notice is that half of the plate is devoted to fruits and vegetables. And this just basically gives you a viewpoint of what your plate should look like. So when you're looking at your plate, when you're having your meal, half of it should be fruits and vegetables. And the other half is devoted to whole grains and grain products and to healthy protein source. And you'll notice that I don't say meat there, I say a healthy protein source. That could be a meat or a meat alternative. And then for the grain portion, it would be a whole grain rather than processed, like white rice, for example. One other feature of the healthy eating plate that's different, say, from Canada Food Guide or the USDA Food Pyramid, is that there's a focus on drinking water rather than drinking milk or sweetened beverages. So this just gives you another way of looking at instead of counting servings, to look at the proportions of food on your plate. In this cartoon, she says, his workout regime consists of 50 sit-downs every day. And as, of course, now the next thing that a man can do to improve his health is to exercise. Simply speaking, most Canadian men don't get enough exercise. And that increases their risk for heart disease and diabetes and cancers as well. And it's a very simple recommendation here, and that is to aim for at least 30 minutes of exercise every day. And there's a great video on YouTube called 23.5 Hours, which sort of looks at the benefits of just devoting just 30 minutes out of your day to being more physically active. It's not as difficult as you think. Being more physically active doesn't necessarily mean going to the gym or riding a bicycle. It can be something as simple as working in the garden or even cooking. And you don't have to start off with very vigorous exercise. You can start off with a level you're comfortable with. Just make sure you do something to make yourself more physically active. A little bit. Every little bit helps. Number 4 is one that probably anyone who's a smoker has heard 1,000 times, and that is to quit smoking. But it needs to be restated again, because if you are a smoker, quitting smoking can be the most important thing you can do to improve your health. And if you are ready to quit smoking, there certainly are resources available to you. There's Quit Now BC. You can call 811 to get smoking cessation program help. Also here at the Men's Health Initiative, there is a smoking cessation clinic that you can contact. Another thing that's really important for you to consider is your blood pressure. And this is one of the recommendations that I would make, is that every man should be checking his blood pressure from a young age too. The symptoms of high blood pressure are non-existent, so you can have high blood pressure for a long time without knowing it, but you could still be doing damage to your arteries and blood vessels if your blood pressure is too high for too long. So make sure you go to your doctor and get your blood pressure checked regularly, even if you're a younger man. High blood cholesterol levels can increase your risk for heart disease and strokes, so it's important to make sure you know what your cholesterol levels are. Some of the things that go along with high blood cholesterol levels are things like having a bad diet and not getting enough exercise and being overweight, things that I've just already talked about, and smoking too. So it's important to know what your cholesterol levels are, and there's certainly a lot of things you can do to lower your cholesterol. Besides taking medications, you can improve your diet and exercise more, for example. So know what your cholesterol levels are. Besides knowing your blood pressure and your cholesterol levels, it's also important to know what your blood sugar levels are and what your risk of diabetes is, especially if you have diabetes in your family. Having diabetes can increase your risk for heart attacks and strokes, and you may not have any symptoms of that either. So it's important to go in and get yourself tested for your risk of diabetes. So I hope, as you see here, that there's a trend forming here, especially for men with prostate cancer. Knowing your PSA, or your prostate-specific antigen number, that's important, but that's not all that's important. Know these other numbers as well. Your blood pressure, your cholesterol, and your blood sugar. And, of course, your waist circumference and your weight. Number 8 on the list is to limit how much alcohol you drink. And this is a bit of an interesting issue, because there are some who suggest that drinking wine, for example, red wine, might lower your risk of heart disease. But we really don't know enough about this to say that drinking wine is good for you or not. So it's best just to limit yourself to 2 drinks a day. And this is a limit, not a prescription. Too much alcohol definitely can cause a lot of problems. It can increase your chances of having cirrhosis of the liver or liver cancer. And as a matter of fact, 4% of all cancer deaths are related to alcohol. Taking care of your mental health is also very important for men. A lot of men tend to ignore symptoms of depression, but it's very important, if you're feeling any signs or symptoms of depression, to talk to someone about it and to make sure that you are taking care of your mental health. Finally, number 10 is manage your health. Get a family doctor. If you don't already have one, find one. And this is important for men because we tend to not go to the doctor very often and not to monitor our health. But all of these things that I talked about, getting your blood pressure, your cholesterol levels checked, that's important, and having a relationship with your doctor to make sure that you're constantly monitoring these things, especially when you're getting older, that's really important. But you younger men should do the same too. You should know what your blood pressure and cholesterol levels are, so that when you do get older, you'll be able to be aware of any problems that happen when they happen. And finally, of course, know your family history. Find out what your family history is for heart disease, cancer, any of these health conditions, and make sure you talk to your family doctor about it. So that ends the first part of my talk today about the general things that you can do about your health to improve your health. And now I'd like to focus a little bit more on men with prostate cancer and some of the foods and nutrients that are important for them. So as you heard in the first part of my presentation, I was talking about some very general things that men can do to improve their health and well-being. Now I'd like to change focus here and talk a bit more about some of the foods that are important for men who've been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and some of the things that have come up in the research over the years, and some of the foods and nutrients that people have asked us here about at the prostate clinic. There's been a lot of interest in food and prostate cancer over the past few years, and you can certainly find some good books on it. And here are just a couple of examples of some titles some books on nutrition and prostate cancer and some recipe books for you. And there's a lot of information out there. But one of the questions that people ask is, why diet? What's important about diet? Well, first of all, we have to understand that we really don't know what causes prostate cancer. We do know that diet is important in prostate cancer. We don't know exactly how diet is implicated, but we do have very good indication that having a healthy diet can actually reduce your risk of having prostate cancer. So let's talk about some of the dietary factors that are implicated in prostate cancer. And I'm just going to focus on a few things today that have come out in the research and that are especially interesting. But there are some other things as well, but we'll just talk about some of these today. We'll talk about tomatoes, calcium and vitamin D. We'll talk about soy foods, vitamin E and selenium, and finally we'll end up with omega-3 fatty acids. The first food I'd like to talk about is tomatoes and tomato products. Tomatoes contain an antioxidant called lycopene. Lycopene has been shown to lower the risk of prostate cancer. And certainly in parts of the world where men eat the most tomato products, they have lower risk of prostate cancer. Now, one of the interesting things about tomatoes and lycopene is that the benefit is from eating cooked tomato products, not fresh. And this is one of those situations where cooked is better than fresh. And cooked or processed tomato products like tomato paste or tomato sauce are what's important here, what's healthy here. One question that's often asked is, can you take lycopene supplements? There's a little bit of research in this area, but the benefit seems to come from eating tomato products rather than from eating the supplement. So if you're interested in taking lycopene supplements, 30 milligrams per day is considered to be the proper dose, but we don't have enough information to say how helpful that is. Calcium is important for proper bone health, and it's an essential mineral. But most of us don't get enough, and especially most men don't get enough in their diets. As a matter of fact, a lot of men only get about half as much as they need. Now, this doesn't mean that men necessarily have to take calcium supplements. In fact, you can get enough calcium by just adding a few high-calcium foods to your diet. Drinking a glass of milk or a glass of soy milk every day gives you a significant amount of calcium and would certainly boost your calcium intake. Men who are on androgen deprivation therapy need a little bit more calcium than other men with prostate cancer. So it's especially important for them to make sure that they're getting enough calcium from both food and, if necessary, from supplements. It's probably important to talk to your doctor about how much calcium you need, and how much calcium supplements you should be taking, if any. In this situation, more is not better, and calcium supplements might actually be unhealthy. Vitamin D is a hormone that helps you regulate your blood calcium levels. It helps you absorb calcium from your diet. And vitamin D is also being implicated in lowering your risk for prostate cancer. So it's important that men get enough vitamin D in their diet. But like calcium, a lot of us run a bit short in how much vitamin D we get in our food. So in this situation, it's probably a good idea to take supplements, especially if you're a man over 50 and especially during the winter. Health Canada recommends taking 400 international units of vitamin D daily. And men with prostate cancer might benefit from taking even more, although we don't know exactly what amount of vitamin D men with prostate cancer should be taking. And like calcium, men who are on androgen deprivation therapy for prostate cancer have even higher needs for vitamin D. And so it might be important for them to take supplements as well. If you're not sure how much calcium and vitamin D to take, talk to your doctor about it before you start taking it. Another food that I'd like to talk about is soy and soy products. And these are products that are made from soybeans. They contain a class of chemicals called isoflavones, which have been shown to reduce the risk of prostate cancer. And we see this in parts of the world, especially in Asia, where men consume a great deal of soy products, and they have a lower risk of prostate cancer as a result. Some of the more common soy products that you might see are tofu or soy milk, but there are certainly lots of others on the market as well. Another good thing about soy milk is that besides isoflavones, soy milk's often enriched with calcium and vitamin D, making it an excellent source of those two nutrients and a replacement or alternative for milk. The next vitamin I'd like to talk about is vitamin E. And there's been a lot of research on vitamin E and prostate cancer risk. And many of you have heard of the SELECT trial, a very large trial looking at giving vitamin E supplements and selenium supplements to men to see if that would reduce their risk for prostate cancer. Although the early research was very promising, we now see that vitamin E supplements aren't as safe as we thought. Vitamin E is an essential vitamin, of course, We find it in grains and nuts and seeds and leafy green vegetables. And again, those are things that men tend not to eat enough of. So we do tend to be lacking vitamin E in our diets, but taking supplements is probably not a way to prevent prostate cancer, and it's probably not good for men who have prostate cancer. If you take a multivitamin, you're probably getting enough vitamin E in that. So don't take large single doses of vitamin E on its own until more research is done. Selenium is an essential mineral, and like vitamin E, we thought that it might be beneficial to prevent prostate cancer or prevent prostate cancer recurrence in men who've already been diagnosed with it. But unfortunately, large doses of selenium might actually be toxic and harmful. It might increase your risk of diabetes, for example. We generally get enough selenium in our diets as it is, so we don't need extra selenium for the most part. If you do want to have more selenium in your diet, then I recommend that you get it from food. For example, 4 Brazil nuts gives you more selenium than was found in the SELECT trial, but in a much healthier way. So like vitamin E, it's recommended that you do not take separate supplements. If you're taking a multivitamin with minerals, you're getting more than enough selenium in that and in your regular diet. Now the final nutrient that I'd like to talk about are the omega-3s. Now these are the essential fatty acids that are found in foods like nuts, seeds, and oils, vegetable oils, but also found in fatty fish, marine fish, like salmon or tuna. And they're essential. They're like vitamins. We need them for our survival. And there's a lot of interest in the omega-3 fatty acids because they actually can reduce your risk of heart disease, for example, but they've also been implicated in a lower risk for prostate cancer. If you have 2 servings of a fatty fish like salmon, for example, a week, you'll get enough omega-3 fatty acids in your diet. But if you are concerned or you want to take supplements, up to 3 grams a day should be fine. So those are the main nutrients and foods that I wanted to talk about. Oftentimes we're asked if supplements are needed or necessary or even helpful for men with prostate cancer. And you'll notice that I have given some nutrients where I've talked a bit about the supplements. If you are interested in taking vitamins and mineral supplements, probably a children's vitamin would be good enough for you. It would contain all the essential vitamins and minerals that you need. It's not recommended to take a mega dose of vitamin E or selenium especially, as these have been shown to be harmful. But taking fish oil supplements is probably okay. In general, there are no other supplements that have been found to be beneficial or that have enough evidence to show that you're really going to get a benefit from it. So I would recommend that you spend your money on eating healthily and getting the nutrients that you need through foods rather than through supplements. There are other natural health products that people are interested in besides nutritional supplements, things like herbal preparations. Some of them can be harmful and you don't necessarily know what you're going to get in any particular formulation that you might get, and they're not regulated by the government in the same way that medications are regulated. So generally speaking, if you're interested in taking herbal remedies and herbal supplementation, talk to someone about it. Do your research. There are a few that might be beneficial. Turmeric, for example, is a spice that has shown some benefit. However, one of the most commonly used herbal preparations for men with prostate cancer is saw palmetto, which now has been shown to have very little, if any, benefit. Do your homework before you take any of these herbal preparations. There are some other antioxidants that researchers are interested in. Those that are found in red wine and green tea and pomegranate juice. All of these things are showing some promise, but there still hasn't been enough evidence to show that there's any benefit from them. I would recommend not taking them in supplement form. If you want to drink some red wine, for example, limit yourself to 2 glasses a day. Have a cup of green tea every now and then, or drink some pomegranate juice, but don't take them in supplement form. One of the key things to remember when thinking about food and prostate cancer is that those foods and nutrients that are considered to be prostate healthy are also heart healthy, or the other way around. Things that are heart healthy are also prostate healthy. Some heart healthy foods include things like cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, anything in that family of vegetables. And also eating less meat and more fruit and vegetables, and more fish, for example. And eating foods that are high in fiber content are all things that are heart healthy and also prostate healthy. So those are some of the foods and nutrients that men with prostate cancer might be interested in. But I'd like to end off by reminding everyone that eating a balanced, healthy diet and maintaining a healthy body weight is very important for your overall health besides just your prostate health. And remember that a heart-healthy diet is also a prostate-healthy diet, and adding a little bit of extra exercise to your day won't hurt either. Thanks for listening.